My name is Erin Caldwell. I make a living predicting worst-case scenarios for an insurance firm in Denver. But nothing at work ever prepared me for the 10-second voicemail that detonated my family. It arrived on a Tuesday between a risk report and a cold cup of coffee. I tapped play and heard my mother's voice. Calm and efficient, like she was closing a file instead of cutting off her daughter. "You're out. Don't come back. We're moving on without you." That was it. No explanation. No emotion, just a verdict. My hand didn't shake. But the sound seemed to pull the air out of the room. I remember staring at my phone while my heartbeat pressed against my ears, thinking how strange it felt for a family to collapse in one sentence. She hung up. And I sat there, realizing the message wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. I didn't call back. I didn't beg for context or forgiveness. I opened my laptop, logged into the family property account I had built from scratch, and locked every permission tied to my name. "If I'm out," I whispered, "then so is my credit line." The cursor blinked like a pulse as I disabled access. One account at a time. I called our realtor next. "Remove me from the purchase," I said evenly. Effective immediately. By the time the coffee had gone cold, the bridge they thought they'd burned was already gone. When I shut the screen, I saw a note taped to the corner of my monitor, my own handwriting from a training I'd led months ago. "Always secure your exits before someone else writes them for you." I hadn't meant it for family, but it fit perfectly. They thought they'd cut me loose. They just didn't know I'd been the one holding the scissors all along. By morning, my phone had turned into a small emergency siren, 46 missed calls, 12 texts, and a new voicemail from their lawyer. I listened while the coffee machine hissed. "This is Evan Cole, counsel for Mark and Diane Caldwell. Erin, we need to talk. This is serious." His tone was tight, the way lawyers sound when they realize their clients left out the important parts. I let the message finish and set my phone down. The screen kept lighting up, Mom pleading, Dad reasoning, both trying to rewrite what they'd said less than a day ago. Mom's voice shook in her texts. "This was a misunderstanding. Call me. We need to talk." Dad wrote, "Kiddo, whatever happened, we can fix it. Please call us back." Then another from Mom. "We didn't mean it like that. We were upset. Come home so we can explain." I read each one slowly and thought. Yesterday there'd been no confusion in her voice at all. "You're out. Don't come back." That had sounded clear enough. No calls. No apologies. Just silence until the money disappeared from reach. At work, Jenna rolled her chair toward my desk, lowering her voice. "You've been staring at that screen like you're about to blow it up. Everything okay at home?" I almost said yes, but stopped. "Not really. My parents decided I'm out of the family business." She blinked. "Do they realize you are the family business?" I shrugged. "They left a voicemail. I locked things down. Now their lawyer's involved." Jenna let out a whistle. "Then make sure you're not the one they blame when the alarms go off." I nodded because she was right. Guilt makes people rewrite history faster than lawyers can redact it. Later that morning, an unknown number appeared. "Heard you pulled out of the triplex because you're overwhelmed. You okay?" It was my cousin, trying to sound concerned. "Overwhelmed," I repeated. "That's new." She hesitated. "That's what your mom and Brooke said in the group chat." My jaw tightened. Guess they forgot to CC me. I ended the call and stared at the skyline outside my office window. If Brooke was spreading the word that I was unstable, it wasn't gossip, it was strategy. The kind that starts small, like smoke, right before the whole house goes up. By Friday, I stopped waiting for decency and called Jason Heller, the financial advisor who'd helped me set up the family LLC years ago. "Has anyone tried to change ownership in Caldwell Properties recently?" I asked. Jason hesitated before answering. I've seen drafts adding a new managing member. Your signature line was blank. I felt the corner of my mouth lift. Let me guess the new name starts with a B. He exhaled slowly. Brooke Caldwell. Your mom mentioned consulting a new advisor and floated hypotheticals. But the paperwork looked ambitious. Did any of it go through? I asked, though I already knew the answer. No, Jason said. The forms were incomplete. And I told them nothing moves without your consent. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Good. If they try again, treat every request as fraudulent. He cleared his throat. Aaron, if someone's trying to backdoor their way into your LLC, you need to document everything. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. Already started. The call ended with a kind of quiet that only comes after confirmation of betrayal. Within the hour, I composed an email to the family account. Any attempt to alter ownership, signature authority, or financial structure without my written consent is unauthorized and may constitute fraud. Do not sign my name. Do not imply my approval. I hit send, then watched the delivery receipt pop up. My hands didn't shake. The difference between caution and retaliation was just timing, and I was finished being cautious. That same afternoon, my phone buzzed with another message from Brooke. What do you think you're doing? Locking down accounts? You're making this worse. I typed, worse for who? Then deleted it. Silence is harder to argue with. By evening, I got a call from Jason again. A new advisor named Lou just reached out. He said, he's reviewing your family's retirement structure and mentioned your approval for a co-trustee addition. I almost laughed. To be clear, I haven't signed a thing since the day I created that plan. Jason paused. He seemed under the impression you'd stepped away voluntarily. The word overwhelmed came up. I felt the familiar chill behind my ribs. Then let's make something clear, I said. Treat every claim as unauthorized unless you see my live signature. If anyone insists otherwise, tell them to show proof. They won't have any. That night I opened a folder on my desktop titled Family Risk File. Inside went screenshots of texts, Jason's notes, Evan's voicemail, and every draft email I'd sent. Each document was a small, precise nail in the coffin of Brooke's narrative. By the time I closed the folder, I wasn't angry anymore, just alert. I finally understood that this wasn't family chaos, it was asset management. And I was simply protecting my most volatile investment, the truth. The next evening, I walked into my parents' living room with the folder under my arm. My father sat on the couch beside my mother, both of them tense, while Brooke perched in an armchair clutching a tissue she didn't need. I set the folder on the coffee table and said, let's keep this simple. Nothing said tonight is off the record in my head. So think carefully before you decide what counts as truth. Brooke gave a short laugh. Wow. Way to make this hostile. We're family. I met her eyes. Then the truth shouldn't scare anyone. Anne. My mother twisted her hands together. Brooke. Honey. Tell Aaron what you told us. I shook my head. No. Let's hear it straight. Go ahead. Brooke. She looked at me with false pity. You were upset. Aaron. You said you were done carrying everything. That you wanted full control of the LLC so you wouldn't have to consult us. You probably don't even remember. It was after dinner in the car. I leaned forward. That night at Harbor Grill. Right? The same night, your Lyft receipt says you left at 10:15 while my gas charge was logged across town at 10:13. 2 cars. 2 routes. No conversation. My father frowned at her. You told us you were together. Brooke blinked, searching for a new story. Maybe it was another night. Before you go there, I said, flipping a second page. The only other dinner we had in 3 months ended early because you left to meet friends. I stayed to pay the bill. So no, there was no car ride. My mother's lips parted in shock, and my father leaned back slowly. The truth doesn't fall apart next to a receipt, he said quietly. Yours just did. Brooke's face tightened. You've always needed control. You're making me look like a liar, I said evenly. You did that all by yourself. She slammed the tissue onto her knee. You think locking us out of accounts is noble. You made everyone believe I'm unstable when you're the one hoarding everything. I opened another document and slid it across the table. That's an email from the realtor showing my withdrawal came before your mental health story. You weren't protecting anyone. You were positioning yourself. My mother looked between us, her voice breaking. Brooke, you said you saw emails from Erin. Brooke straightened. I did. She said she was cutting you out. My father shook his head. You told us you had proof. You don't, my mother whispered. We believed what was easiest to hear, I said. That's the problem. You wanted me to be the villain because it made your guilt more comfortable. Brooke shot back. You're just mad I called out your power trips. I exhaled. Power trips? I was the only one paying the mortgage and taxes while you posted about financial oppression. You built a spotlight, Brooke, and called it healing. My father rubbed his jaw. Enough. Aiden, what do you think should happen? I met his eyes. You wanted me out of the family business. Fine. But that means no one uses my name, credit, or systems anymore. Starting with removing Brooke from everything. My mother hesitated. She doesn't have access, I said. Not formally. But she's been speaking to advisors like decisions were hers. That ends tonight. My father turned to Brooke. No more calls to advisors. No more pretending you speak for us. Brooke's voice cracked. So you're just erasing me? My mother said softly. We're stopping the fantasy that money falls from the sky because Erin built it. Brooke's tears came fast. Let me prove I can help. Give me a small role. Social media. Anything. I stood, gathering the folder. No. If you want to build something, start with nothing like I did, my mother said. Isn't that harsh? I looked at her. Harsh was being told not to come back. This is a boundary. Brooke glared through her tears. You'll regret this. I lifted my bag. No. I won't. I'm done being the safety net for people who keep jumping. My father walked me to the door. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for believing what was easiest. I nodded. The easy story always costs the most. When I stepped outside, the night felt colder but clean, like the moment after a system purge when everything false is finally deleted. A week later, I sat in the conference room with Jason and Evan while my parents signed the new documents. My father glanced up and said, You and I will stay as managing members. Your mother's listed as beneficiary. Brooke's name doesn't appear anywhere. I nodded. That's how it should have been from the start. Evan slid the final page toward me. Once these are filed, no one can alter ownership without unanimous consent. I signed without hesitation. The pen moved steadily. No anger left. Only precision. After the signatures dried, Jason closed his folder. Everything's secure now, he said. Anyone trying to change this structure again would hit a wall of compliance so thick they'd choke on it. My father gave a quiet laugh. That's the first time I've ever felt grateful for bureaucracy. I replied. Bureaucracy isn't the enemy when you're the one writing the rules. My mother looked down at her hands, then up at me. We always assumed you could handle more than the rest of us. She said softly, We thought it meant we didn't have to understand how any of it worked. I answered, Strength isn't a favor. It's a responsibility. and it stops being one when people start using it as an excuse. Actually do. Outside the office. My father caught my arm. "We should have trusted you sooner," I told him. "Trust isn't the problem. Blind trust is." He nodded. "No more blind anything." The sunlight hit the new papers in his hand. And for the first time in months, I saw him relax. My mother joined us in the parking lot. Still shaken but lighter somehow. "I know we can't erase what Brooke did," she said. "But we can stop pretending it didn't happen," I said quietly. "That's the first step toward fixing something. Stop rewriting it while it's still burning." Tonight do. That night I opened the revised LLC file on my laptop. The control panel looked clean, no shared passwords. No pending authorizations. No backdoors. My name and my father's were the only ones that mattered now. I saved the document and leaned back, letting the screen glow fade. Revenge hadn't been the point anymore. What I'd built wasn't punishment, it was structure. The difference between chaos and control is documentation. And I'd just rewritten ours in ink that no one could wash away. A month later, the triplex finally looked finished. My parents moved into the bottom unit, arguing over where to hang their bird feeder while I unpacked boxes upstairs. The third unit was already rented. The numbers lined up clean in a spreadsheet that only I controlled. My father leaned against the railing and said, "You really made this work." I smiled. "You helped. You just didn't know it at the time." He nodded, understanding what I meant without needing an apology to bridge it. Most evenings, I'd come downstairs to cook dinner with my mother while my father watched some car show in the living room. She still looked guilty whenever Brooke's name came up. "I keep wondering if we were too hard on her," she said once. I handed her a plate. "You weren't hard. You were honest." She sighed. "You always make things sound simple." I said, "Simple isn't easy. It just means there's no pretending left." That ended the conversation. But her eyes softened, like she finally believed that peace didn't have to mean forgetting. From what I heard through cousins, Brooke was living across town in a small apartment, trying to launch an event business that never quite started. My mother saw one of her posts online and turned her phone face down. "She's still writing about us," she said quietly. I answered. "Then she hasn't learned that silence is stronger than spin." My father looked up from his chair. "You sure you're done with all this?" I said. "Completely. The best revenge isn't winning, it's no longer playing." He nodded. "Guess we're all learning you're kind of quiet." Dantec. Later that night, I stood by my window, watching the streetlight catch the front gate. The house below felt steady, the air finally still. I thought about the voicemail that started everything. Those words that once sounded like an ending, now they felt like permission. "You're out. Don't come back." I had. Just differently. You can love your family and still lock the door when they keep reaching for the wrong handle. Forgiveness doesn't mean giving them the keys again, it just means you've learned which ones to keep. Thank you for staying until the end of my story. If you've ever had to rebuild your peace after being cut out, tell me what you learned in the comments below. I read every story shared here because they matter. Subscribe for more truths about power, boundaries, and the quiet kind of revenge.